Hello and welcome to a chill, maybe shorter video, because believe it or not, I started 3 projects this week and I didn't finish any of them to the point that I wanted to, but hey, sometimes the energy just isn't there like we want it to be, and as long as we just keep trying our best, that's okay. And this past week with these sub-zero temperatures and tons of ice, seeing the snow come down and stuff, I really wanted to work on something a little more calm, so I pulled out Eenkashti's journal to continue working on it. If you're new to my channel or new to this series, Eenkashti is my Kalashtar Cleric Sorcerer multiclass. She was my first D&D character I made for a long-term campaign, and I just love her very, very much. She holds just a very special place in my heart. There are a good number of videos on her and her build and her party and her adventures on my channel, so what's another one? Also, before I just brush past the whole new subscribers thing, I would like to thank all the brand new subscribers. I got like 50 in the last week, which is crazy. I felt like it was not super long ago that I was celebrating hitting 700, and now I'm 20 subscribers away from 800. And yeah, I truly appreciate the support and the love, and I feel like it's such a nice motivating start to 2024, and it really means the world to me. I cannot express that enough. But before I get too caught up in saying the same thing over and over again, let's get back to Eenkashti's journal. Where we left off in the last journal series, I believe she and her party have been traveling around the city, familiarizing themselves with it and deciding what is the best way to tear it down from the inside, while also preparing themselves for the gala being held by Lady Salash. For Eenkashti, this means buying a very expensive ball gown to look the part, and also picking up shadow sorcery as a treat. However, the morning of the gala, we lose track of one of our players by the name of Haskell, and in his room in the tavern we're staying in, we find a portal that has opened up into what appears to be someone's subspace within the Shadow Realm. In this cavern-like subspace, we encounter a lot of strange things. A turtle blacksmith who sounded very much like a particular turtle artificer from a different campaign. We also found a minor potions maker who was relatively willing to try making us anything we wanted, so long as we managed to obtain the correct ingredients. And last but definitely not least, we found a mushroom gardener who tended to fungi that would provide the consumer with various temporary buffs. 2 of these mushrooms our party found very, very interesting. There was a blue mushroom that could effectively double your speed, and an orange mushroom that would restore spell slots depending on how much you ate. All that aside, we did actually find Haskell in the subspace dimension. He was in an upper section of the cavern being held hostage by this just horrible little skeleton dragon that was pretty much unkillable. He just kept respawning, but he also was quite persuadable as a result of the power invested in our paladin and their divine smite ability. So in regards to the journal page specifically, clearly I just wanted to draw some mushrooms. In game, the mushrooms were actually humanoid sized and we were given very little pieces of it to take and use as needed, but I couldn't find a way to make little crumbs of mushroom look as cool as just drawing a whole mushroom. So, you know, I just did what I wanted because this is for me and only me, and also all of you for looking at, but mostly for me. Something to note, I guess, is that up until this point, all the watercolors used in this journal was in shades of brown or reddish colors. And this is the first time I'm doing something otherwise. I feel like it does kind of make this section look a little separated from the book so far, and I'm a little torn on it, but at least I think the mushrooms look pretty cool. But anyways, we're already moving on to the next page and the next section in the story, which is obviously the gala. Because the setting of this D&D campaign is starting in sort of like a desert fantasy environment, I'm obviously just having a great time studying architecture made for warm weather climates, which is really nice to look at, especially with the outside being what it is. And for the gala, I really wanted to draw full page art of just a beautiful tiered building. The building that the gala was hosted in is one of the centralmost buildings in the city. It's the most important building, probably the most lavish. It's got several levels, an open courtyard with tons of columns. It even had a water fountain, which is just a symbol of how extravagant this place is, to have a running fountain in the middle of a desert city that is not built on an oasis. I did say in my last journal video, but I'll say it again, I'm not very well suited to drawing architectural sketches. Buildings have never been my strong suit. Repeating features, construction lines, they all just make me want to cry. So whenever I do drawings, especially like this in Eenkashti's journal, they're pretty much from reference with maybe some minor modifications. And you all commented a lot on the last journal video about how I should not feel so guilty drawing from reference, and that does mean a lot to me because I do often feel quite a bit of pressure to make everything on my channel or in my videos new and exciting, but it is nice to know that you guys don't mind watching me learn and practice architectural and perspective drawing, and it's good for me because I need to practice my art more. On the note of making full page architectural drawings, especially pages that have no writing, I usually fill up the whole page and don't put an entry number thing at the top. For this page specifically, I decided to do something a little different because the thing about my notes on the gala is it's D&D and sometimes things just take a long time. The gala event took place over the course of 3 sessions. On the other hand, if Eenkashti were writing about the gala events in the journal in real time, it is much more likely that the notes on things like the people they met, the building map, it would appear on the same page. So for example, in the session we took part in a dancing event where partners would switch out and it would be sort of this like speed networking system. It was a very quick event in game. However, in real time, because we had to go through rounds of each player joining the dance, taking a couple minutes for each player to talk and their dancing partner to respond, it took at least 2 sessions to figure that out and get everybody through the dance. So instead of dividing the information across multiple journal pages, I used day 1 of gala notes to be this beautiful architectural drawing of the tiered building, and then day 2 was a little napkin of notes that Eenkashti took during the event that she just pasted into her journal. So this page is basically notes on all the figures of interest that we met at this gala, and I didn't have a strong plan for the design of this page going into it. I knew I wanted to do the napkin note tactic, and it's not the first time that I've done this for the journal. However, in the other journal entry where I used this napkin note strategy, there was a lot of other stuff going on that I could add to the page, whereas for this one, that was kind of it for the session. So I thought to myself, hey, what do I have that'll fill out this page and make it look better? Stickers and wine stains. So I chose a bunch of matching pressed flower stickers, some ticket stubs, some merchandise coupons, a wax seal. I feel like these are little trinkets that you might pick up as a guest or as security at a gala. Through the dances, we met a lot of really interesting people. There were several wealthy merchants of various goods. There were quite a few city officials, or at least people in quite high positions relating to the various assassins guilds and the water supply of the city. There was a dwarven fellow named Skypiercer who has a huge skyship, and of course, Eenkashti happened to dance with a pale man by the name of Alistair, dressed in all white, and we ended up having a conversation that resulted in me having to roll for deception, and I rolled a 24, and I was feeling pretty good because that's a pretty high number. And the DM says, well, I guess meets it beats it. Excuse me? meets what? Beats what? Did he insight against me? Is that just like his passive ability? I'm sorry, but I need a bit more information here. But of course, there was no time for questions before the gala moved quickly into phase 3. The encounter and battle stage. So in this session, 2 cultists managed to sneak into the gala. They underwent a just gruesome transformation, turning into sloths. I've heard slades, but I'm gonna call them sloths. But either way, they're just these horrible, monstrous frog creatures with like teeth. And if you remember me talking about it a while ago, this was the battle where my character went unconscious at the end of a session, and I wasn't sure if she was going to make it because I had 1 death save left and I was lying in a cloud of poison that could 100% take me out. And it was all very dramatic, but not quite as dramatic as realizing that the previously mentioned Shadow Realm subspace was actually hidden inside a weapon that Haskell had been holding something, and that this subspace belonged to Alistair, the man in white, who promptly transformed into a dragon and tore Haskell away from the party and took him into the skies. We're just gonna brush past that. For this page, I wanted to keep it relatively simple, reflecting Eenkashti's state of mind after losing someone that she had fought beside for somewhere between 5 and 7 years at this point. I wanted to do a very gentle transitions from wine stains to bloodstains, and I wanted the text on the page to read very simply about the course of events, as if Eenkashti is reporting quickly and effectively what has happened. After all that work was done, I went in with my blacklight marker and filled out the entire page, because it was actually during this encounter that Eenkashti got to meet the recently come to power Lord of the Shadow Realm and the source of her shadow sorcery. On the days where Eenkashti gets particularly close to the Shadow Realm or where she spends a lot of time studying, I like to use a lot of this invisible ink all over the pages, and this page is certainly no exception to that. I draw a lot of eyeballs because I love drawing eyeballs, and eyeballs are very thematic for Eenkashti, and I also write the message for the greater good because this is just a theory, but I'm 90% sure that the Shadow Lord and Alistair are on relatively friendly terms, if not straight up in cahoots. And above table, I just have a feeling that Haskell is going to come back someday as something else, and whether or not that something else is going to be good, I'm a little concerned. That being done, we go on to the next page, which is where I realized something very interesting. Turns out that watercolor does not like to stick to paper that has been saturated by invisible ink, which is super useful to know and also might make for some fun page ideas later down the line. But either way, that did mean that I couldn't cover the page in either watercolor or invisible ink. So my plan was to do an architectural drawing that filled up both pages. The drawing was supposed to be of a building that we visited the day after the gala. However, I realized that I did not time my pages quite right. I still had one more page of information that I needed to make, and if I made that page here, I would have only one page left to fill out. So instead of the 2-page architectural drawing, I did one smaller drawing of the gala location again, and I really like this drawing. It wasn't in the plan in the first place, but I'm not sure if it's because I got the construction lines down in a way that I wanted, or if it was like the shading techniques, but this one just really made me happy. And while it made me happy, the drawing is still supposed to reflect Eenkashti coming down from such a big loss. Not that she doesn't still care or worry about Haskell, but I think she believes that she should be stronger and not let the feelings get the better of her. They have a mission to complete, and for Eenkashti, the mission overrides everything. I like to imagine Eenkashti was drawing this to calm herself down, but she's still not quite in a super stable state. So I gently shade the drawing with a red watercolor, and I also make some of the shadows very dark and kind of imply a humanoid shape in them, just to invoke that sort of feeling you get when you see a shadow in the corner of your eye and you wonder if that's just the coat you left over the back of your chair or if it's something else entirely. Anyways, and for the last page of the section of Eenkashti's journal, I wanted Eenkashti to be constructing her journal as if she's trying to be more normal. This is the day they meet Joash, who is an Inquisitor of Swords. I talk about him in a previous video. He's come to check on the status of our party and decides to stay and become the new leader of our squadron in Haskell's absence. And for most of the notes on this page, it's Eenkashti just closing herself off, forcing herself into a more professional mindset while she goes back to comparing information about the gala members, where to go next, who they need to talk to accomplish their goals. But I do like the little detail of the tape on the side that has a little script writing. I use it in this journal a lot, and it happens to talk about loss and missing someone and tragedy. Obviously, it's mostly nonsense sentences with a couple of key words because it's just supposed to be decoration, but I do think it is a nice subtle hint to Eenkashti's feeling. But if we can look at this little bottle at the bottom of the page, the party realizes that the people who transformed into sloths at the gala had on their persons a special vial of green liquid with black thick bubbles in it. And the bubbles in the vial are a very unsavory parasitic situation, so the bubbles get into the body and out pops a horrible sloth man. And I'm not going to get further into that description because it is disgusting, and I am a little bit upsetty spaghetti because I was so excited about this drawing. I showed it to my husband. I was like, look at this vial, it looks so cool. It's disgusting slod potion but in like a cute bottle. And he said, he had the audacity to say out loud to me, wow, green tea boba. My whole life is just ruined now. I also apologize to everyone out there who might be drinking any green colored drink with black tapioca in it. This is a tragedy, and I could not bear the weight of it alone. But I still think this little potion bottle looks very cool. He cannot take that success away from me. But with that, I think it is time for the reveal. And that is part 2 of Eenkashti's D&D journal. It's been a while since I've done the first journaling video, so if anything doesn't make sense timeline-wise, I do apologize. There's a lot of context that I hope I'm not leaving out. It's a little hard to keep track of. I also do think this series will slow down a bit on this channel because I'm making 6+ sessions worth of journal pages for just one video, and actually having a campaign is very time-consuming. Who would have guessed? But I do think my favorite page might be this full drawing with the red shading and the shadows. I think it turned out beautiful and haunting, which is exactly what I was going for, and journaling is just such a nice cozy thing to do when the weather is what it is. But that being said, I hope whatever the weather is where you are, if you're in this frozen land of snow and ice with me, I hope you're staying warm. I hope you enjoyed the video because I know I love making these videos, and I hope the continuity between my journaling videos is not too wacky and still makes sense, but who knows? Not me.